So we're going to discuss from Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 text number 4. Chapter is Dhyan Yoga. Before we start our discussion, I'll explain a little bit about the yoga ladder which we were discussing through theory yesterday, and we'll discuss it a little bit, then you'll get a feel of what we're talking about. The yoga ladder means on which you climb to attain some perfection, some topmost point. So it seems there are different understanding of this yoga ladder. So this is one understanding. I presented the matter with another scholar devotee, and he made me more confused in the sense he told me three kinds of Nishkam Karma Yoga and this and that. I said, let us keep it simple. This is from ISKCON Desire Tree. They are Pramanic people, and just have a very simple way, let us understand it. Ultimately, we are not going to delve too much into Dhyan, Gyan or Nishkam Karma Yoga. We are Bhakti Yogis, practicing Bhakti Yogis. So we'll be obviously talking about Bhakti Yoga, and we'll keep on mapping to Bhakti Yoga. But some structure will be discussed here, and then we'll take up today's shloka. So this is a very simple chart which is being mentioned here. The lowest form of existence of human form of life is animal life, where people are only engaged in eating, mating, sleeping and defending without any conception of rules and regulations. If my Zoom devotees can nod, that will help me to go forward. Is it clear? Say yes or no. Okay. Now, in order to ultimately bring that conditioned living entity who does not want to follow any rules and follow a bestial existence, you understand bestial existence, animalistic life, the Vedas promise them, if you follow these rules and regulations of Karma Kanda, you will get superiorance and its enjoyment, and in that way they come within the fold of Vedas, under the purview of Vedas, and that is called Karma Kanda. Human life, but geared towards sense gratification under the regulations of Vedas. Can you please nod your head? Yes, no? Fine. Easy. Thank you. But as you can see, it's written here, interested in satisfying material desires. So now, after doing it for many lifetimes, it's not that in one lifetime a person gets purified, he will go to Swarga, enjoy this and that, but because the soul by default can't be satisfied by material enjoyment, then after becoming distasteful, this whole thing will become distasteful to him, and then he will think, is there any higher purpose? And when he's got purified by this Karma Kanda also, the Lord will make arrangement that he will be exposed to something called Nishkam Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means Nishkam Karma Yoga. And that's why it's mentioned here, accept a transcendental goal and is known as yoga practitioner. So before that, he's not really yoga practitioner. Yoga means there has to be a spiritual goal. In Karma Kanda, there is no spiritual goal. Rules are there, but they are executed for material desires, for fulfillment. So it is not really yoga. That's why it has been shown with different color here. So Karma Yoga means a person still is affected by passion. Still he has to do his prescribed duties. He can't just sit and meditate that I am Atma and Atma. What is Brahman and not Brahman? He can't just do Jnana Yoga because his heart is not purified, but there is some sense of goodness because he is aware that I am soul and I want to purify myself, but I cannot immediately do Jnana Yoga. So then he takes to Nishkam Karma Yoga, which purifies the soul, or we can purifies the practitioner who does Nishkam Karma Yoga with two ingredients. I am not the doer. And if I am not the doer, then I am not the enjoyer. A person who is doing Karma Kanda has a very strong sense of doership. I am doing it, I'll enjoy the fruits of this yajna. Is that okay? But the Nishkam Karma Yogi will have this attitude of detachment that no, I am not the doer and I am not going to enjoy the fruits which are going to come out of this sacrifice, and by doing this, I'll develop Atma Gyan. And that's why it's mentioned here, passion to goodness and increase of knowledge and detachment. Is this clear? Okay. Now from here, he can take two steps, not steps, two directions, two means. Either he can accept Jnana Yoga or he can accept Ashtanga Yoga. Now, Jnana Yoga, in which there is meditation and some brahmacharya, tapasya, what is that? Tapasa, brahmacharya, na ityadi. So, and especially studying of scriptures, Upanishads, like that. By that, a person develops a discrimination that how the Atma is distinct from the body. That is their main focus. And by Jnana Yoga, a person realizes that he is not the body. He gets the realization of soul. That is called Brahman realization. Okay, I am not the body. Na shochati, na kankshati. And by if he takes to Ashtanga Yoga, then Ashtanga Yoga will lead to, depending on his choice, what he wants, it can lead to Brahman realization or Paramatma realization. And from there, if he goes further to Bhakti Yoga, then he realizes and gets Bhagwan realization. Now here very carefully. Now this is a little tough to understand. If a person follows this yoga ladder and comes to Bhakti Yoga, as per Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan, he is called which Nishtha? Sanishta Bhakta. Sanishta devotee. And that person will realize God but in opulent form. But a person who accepts the path of pure devotional service from the beginning is called Parinisht devotee, and he will have a very intimate relationship within the four rasas with Krishna. So it is not same. He will get Bhagavan realization but not in intimacy. So that you will hear as we are going to make progress. Okay? And there is a nirapeksh. So here I am explaining this point, how he has analyzed. This yoga ladder is the gradual evolution of a sanishta devotee who has faith in Varnashram, and then gradually he evolves to Jnana Yoga, and then finally comes to Bhakti Yoga. And this has been described in chapter from 1 to, not 1 exactly, but first 6 chapters, and basically from 2nd to 6th chapter. That means Nishkam Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and then Bhakti Yoga. He analyzes, Baldev Vidya Bhushan Pad explains as that he goes to Nishkam Karma Yoga for Atma realization. He gets purified, then he does Jnana Yoga, he gets realization of Atma, and then to get further realization of Paramatma, because Jnana Yoga cannot give you Paramatma realization, he performs Ashtanga Yoga. And then to further get Bhagwan realization, he does Bhakti Yoga. Is that simple? That's what I've understood. It's a very simple way of understanding. But he explains from 7th to 12th chapter, the Lord is explaining pure Bhakti Yoga. So within that pure Bhakti, pure devotees, there are two kind of people. One is called Parinishtha and other is called a Nirapeksha. So Parinishtha devotee does Varnashram but does not take shelter of Varnashram. He does Varnashram in order to fulfill the mission of the Lord for the establishment of Varnashram for those who need to follow. But his faith is in Bhakti. So he does Bhakti, his means is Bhakti and his goal is Bhakti. So he is pure devotee. But there is another devotee called Nirapeksha who does not care about Varnashram, he only does Bhakti. But they are both pure devotees. So that we will discuss in chapter number 7. Question is coming, is it important to follow Varnashram to progress in pure Bhakti Yoga? Nahi, no. That's what we explained. Nirapeksha devotees are not caring about it. Adhikar also, but you try to understand. Parinishtha devotee is also a pure devotee. Pure means pure. But he like Arjuna also, he is a pure devotee. But he is following the Varna and Ashram so that others, to set an example for others. Not that he himself per se need to do this for his purification. Okay? For his purification, for his perfection, Bhakti Yoga is sufficient. So this we will discuss in 7th chapter, but that's how Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan explains Bhagavad. That's how he has analyzed it. So, Janak Adeha, yeah, obviously, Janak Maharaj is Parinishtha devotee. He is doing Varna and Ashram activities for setting an example, but he is a pure devotee. Mahajan, yes. Okay. So is this yoga ladder clear? Say nod your head. It means no or means yes. For the thing is, when you say yes, you have to say like this, and you say no, then you say like this. No change of rules and regulations. Okay, got it. Take it. And then people can discuss over and over. We are not going to discuss it much over on this point. Just understand it simply. We are going to map it, keep on mapping it to Bhakti Yoga. Now, today's shloka. In 6.3 we have heard Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudasya tasyeva shamah karanamuchyate. Arurukshor muner yoga, a person who's muni, who's a yogi, who wants to climb up the path of yoga, dhyana yoga, karma karana uchyate. For the purification of his mind, he must do prescribed activities. Yogarudasya tasyeva shamah karanamuchyate. For a person who has attained the platform of dhyana yoga, for him it is the cessation of activities which will be purifying his mind, otherwise they will create a distraction. Now a question will be there, what is the yoga rud stage? So this will be answered in 6.4. You are talking about yoga rud stage. What is that yoga rud stage? Yoga arud means attained or situated in yoga. So that will be explained by the Lord here. Please chant after me. Yadahi. Is it after some time that I become yoga rud? After how many years I'll become yoga rud? That also is answered here. Yadahi nendriyartheshu.
Yadahi nendriyartheshu.
Na karmasu anusajjate.
Na karmasu anusajjate.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi.
Yogarudastadochyate.
Yogarudastadochyate.
Yadahi nendriyartheshu na karmasu anusajjate.
Yadahi nendriyarthashu na karmasu anusajjate.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
Sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
Yes. Okay. I'm in a good mood, so will not chastise you. One who has taken up to the process of yoga is yoga ruda. Yes. Not taken up. Not taken up. Somebody who was taken up is Arurukshor. Arurukshor, who wants to climb. And yoga rud means who has already climbed, who is sitting. I have given the example. Maybe, okay, 1 second. My video available. Okay, now watch the video. So, I am now desiring to sit on the chair. And now I am sitting on the chair. Are you able to understand? I think some devotees here in the class want to sit on this chair. Yes? No? No? Obviously, I want you to sit this chair, but after some time, not immediately. When you somewhere at least you sit on the chair and give Bhagavad Gita class. Are you able to understand or not? अच्छा अभी समझाते हैं. Give the mic to Ramakrishna Prabhu. So what is your portfolio right now? As a
specialist in backup administration. Backup administration specialist.
No. What is your portfolio means? What is your job name?
Software engineer kind of.
अरे क्या post है? What is your post?
Specialist का post.
Specialist.
Yeah.
So this is the highest, is it not?
No.
What is the highest in your company?
CEO.
So now if he desires to be CEO, does not mean that he becomes CEO. He is CEO Rukshu. So he desires to become CEO. But if he becomes a CEO, then he will call CEO Arud. He is sitting on the position of CEO. Is it getting clear? Not that somebody who has taken up the process of yoga is called Yoga Rud. One who has become perfected in yoga is called Yoga Rud. Say yes or no? Okay, good. Arud itself means Asin. Yes, very simple. Chada gaya, baitha hua se. Jaise I am sitting on this chair. Yes, okay. Okay. So, let us read the translation. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activity. So the commentary says, this verse describes the symptoms which define yoga rudha. So the link is very clear. So you have remember the person who's yoga rukshu, who's desiring to climb the yoga ladder is not fully free from material desires. Are you able to follow? He has a desire to become a yogi, but he also has material contaminations of lust, anger, and like that. But this devotee or this person who's yoga rood has given up all sense desires. Let us look at the Anvay. Yada hi, certainly when. Now it's very interesting. If somebody asks the question, when will I be yoga rood? When will I be called perfect in yoga? So see how Krishna being supremely intelligent gives a very nice answer. Yada hi, certainly when. When? Certainly when. Are you able to getting? You yourself will know, not that after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, 30 years. The standard is only when, certainly when, without any doubt when, Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, when one who has renounced all desires. So it is not time-bound situation. Very, very Krishna is supremely intelligent. He does not say after 5 years, 10 years you become Aruda. Maybe after many lifetimes you don't become Yogaruda. Very, very deep statement. Isn't it? Yada, when, whenever, maybe tomorrow. Normally it doesn't happen tomorrow, but it can, it may be. Like what is it? One king left all his desires. What is his name? Khatwang Maharaj. He gave up all material desires, focus his mind on Krishna and go back to Godhead. So very intelligent. So Sarva Sankalpa Sannyas. What does Sankalpa? Sankalpa means acceptance. I want this. And Sarva Sankalpa means all kinds of this desires for material sense gratification. Obviously, you know that you cannot remove all desires. The desire for self-realization has to be there, but desire for sense gratification. Sarva Sankalpa Sannyas, you understand? Giving up all material desires. This is one symptom. Na indriyartheshu na karmasu anusajjate. Neither engages in sense gratification. Try to understand the word indriya artheshu. Indriya arth means objects of the senses. Or you can say indriya artheshu, not for the purpose of satisfying the senses. Na indriya artheshu. He will not act for sense gratification. Now you see, anusajjate means constantly engaged. Na anusajjate means constantly not engaged for sense gratification. At no point of time he engages the senses for sense gratification. Is it sinking in or is it too difficult? Okay. Na karmasu anusajjate, nor in fruitive activities. That means neither in activities which will promise him sense gratification. Are you able to see the apsaras now? Any of you have ever seen any apsara? Don't say that some girl which looked like apsara. I'm not saying like that. We have never seen any apsara. So that is not our sense object right now. But the promise can be heard, is it not? If you do this activity, you will enjoy heavenly damsels. So those activities also given up. Have you seen jambu? Jamun, how do you say called? Jamun in English? Blackberry. Blackberry is a phone. Jamun को क्या बोलते हैं इंग्लिश में? I'm भूल गया. Not blueberry. I'm forgetting the name. Anyhow. So there is a description in Bhagavatam where it is said that there is a heavenly planet where there are jamun trees and jamun fruits, but from which so much fruit juice comes, a whole river is formed by that. Blackberry. Okay, so blackberry. So now, like that, or mangoes without all, when a lot of sense gratification is available. That experience we don't have now. So he does not engage in action. So karmasu does not mean he will not eat. Any action has to be performed. He will not bathe. Those things will go for survival of the body, but he will not act in any way which will promise him some further future sense gratification. And not only it holds for something in heavenly planets, but also holds for something in this world also. In future you want to get some post, position like that. No, he does not understand. Why? He has understood, I am not the body. Why I should do anything for the body, or anything for the satisfaction of the body? While I am living, I must just do sufficient to keep my body fit for self-realization, but not for sense gratification. Is that very clear? You will have to keep nodding your head if you understood it. Okay. And don't think I can't ask questions. And don't think I cannot ask you to unmute also. Be very careful. And then somebody will say, don't think that we can't switch off your video. We have the capacity to become antardhyan. Is it not? Okay, what I can do, is it not? I hope you're understanding. Tada! Then at that time, not before, not 5 years, 10 years, 20 years or 20 lifetimes. Then at that time, yoga rudha uchyate. One is said to have attained yoga. Is that very clear? Okay. Yada hi na indriya artheshu, when a person does not act for sense gratification, na karmasu anusajjate, and he does not engages for any fruitive activity, not any activity, not fruitive activity, not an activity which will give him sense gratification. And sarva sankalpa sannyasi, he gives up all desires which are born from the mental concoction factory, that in some way by adjusting your mental and bodily situation you can become happy in this world. That is the bottom line. He gives up all those desires. Then yoga rudas tat uchyate, only then only then he will be called yoga rudha. He will be called accomplished in yoga. So now it's very simple. It is very simply mapped to bhakti. When all sense desires are given up and a person does not engages in fruitive activities, only engages in bhakti, is it not? And he gives up all other desires except to serve Krishna, then he will be called bhakti yoga rudhasta uchyate. He will be called perfected in bhakti yoga. We'll just map it to bhakti. Okay? Anyabhilashita shunyam ityadi. Ityadi means you understand, etc. Hopefully. Commentary. This verse describes the symptoms which define yoga rudha. A person, by enjoying the bliss of the Atma, has no attachment to the sense objects or to activities for obtaining sense objects such as sound, because he has given up completely the desires, that means sankalpa, for sense objects and the action to attain them, which are only a cause of perplexity. Such a person is said to have reached the stage called yoga rudha. You did very nicely, very clearly explained. One point you have to understand, that he is not negating. When he has begun his journey of yoga, arurukshor, karma karanam uchyate. So he is doing prescribed activities by which his mind is getting purified. And as the mind gets purified, and also is doing some dhyan yoga like that, so then he gets bliss of Atma. And can you hear? It's called Dhvanit Arth. Can you hear, understand that this will increase? So the tendency to do prescribed duties will become lesser and lesser, and the tasting of bliss of Atma will become more and more. And how are you feeling? When I'm talking about bliss of Atma, are you not getting attracted to the bliss of Atma? What is in your heart happening right now? When I'm talking about bliss of Atma, you are thinking it must be great. Is it not? It is good. Now, if I only talk about bliss of Atma, what will you target for your life? Bliss of Atma. Are you able to understand? But if you talk about the bliss which a person gets by serving Krishna, that is infinite. The bliss of Atma is not infinite, very great, but not infinite. But I just want to make you understand that he gets the taste of Atma. That's why he gives up all material desires. Definitely controls his senses. But as he begins to get the taste for Atma, the realization of Atma, he gives up this material desire. So a person who has this capacity, or he has yoga rudha, he is directly tasting the bliss of Atma, so he has no desire for low quality sense gratification. I think you are getting it. But if you map it to bhakti, then he gets the bliss of serving Krishna in prema bhakti. Then there is no question of material desires appearing in the heart. But that bliss is infinite. Okay. Now, hear this. He has no attachment to the sense objects, that means indriyartheshu. Neither he is attached to activities for attaining sense objects. If you don't want sense objects, then also there may be a possibility I may not have a sense object, but I may have a desire for sense object, then I'll be attached to an action which will give me a sense object. But that is also not there because all the desires are gone away. And see it from a different perspective. If I'm attached to sense object, am I also attached, or will I also be attached to the activity which will provide me the sense object? Okay, let me look at assumed devotees. Nod your heads. Yes, no. If I like, for example, rice and dal, if you have no objection, just give an example. Then will I also be attached to the cooking process, or at least going to the place where it will provide me rice and dal? Simple. If I'm attached to rasgulla, same. But if I'm not attached to, let's like I was just reflecting on it. In karmi life, a person actually stands in line to watch a movie. He will drive the car and all that to watch a movie. So now you understand, he is attached to a sense object, and he's also attached to the actions which will give him the sense object. But this person now is fully independent. Okay. We'll read Prabhupada's purport. So the idea is we should check in our own heart, are there any anyabhilashita? And if there is anyabhilashita, that means desires apart from serving Krishna only, so we are not yoga rude. And don't have to be discouraged. Yes, continue the process. The process is purifying us. Right now we are hearing Bhagavad Gita, we are getting purified. Keep on purifying till the time there is no other desire except the desire to please Krishna. Ahetuki apratihata. Yes. Purport. The only difficulty is I am giving classes to kind of advanced devotees here. So I don't know when a person will hear this discussion ever for the first time, how much they will pick up. Because certain things I assume that you understand, is it not? Like I just now said, ahetuki apratihata, without explaining what does it mean. So that's a different thing. Although I intend to make a tutorial, but I somehow assume that many things you know already. I must explain this because some devotees might not understand. A person does dharma, prescribed duties, activities, so that he attains unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to Krishna. This is called ahituki apratihata. And that will satisfy the soul. That's what we were trying to say. So in bhakti we keep on, refining ourselves, keep on executing bhakti. The bhakti Devi itself purifies us to the stage when we will become yoga rude. And in practical sense that is called bhava stage. In bhava stage there is no desire for sense gratification. Absolutely zero. That's why from bhava stage normally no one falls down. Okay? And prema there is no question of falling down. Purport. When a person is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he is no longer engaged in sense gratification or in fruitive activities. Now Srila Prabhupada is not talking about Dhyan Yoga. He directly maps it to Bhakti Yoga, which is perfect because this Siddhant applies to Bhakti Yoga also. Yoga rudastadachyate. When are you pure devotee? Anya bilashita shunyam. Simple. How can we say that this shloka does not apply to Bhakti Yoga? Hai na? See, you may analyze whatever, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, but the point is, are you going to do it? You're never going to do it. So Prabhupada, that's why maps it to Bhakti, because that's what we're going to do. So very simply and very nicely Prabhupada is putting that you keep on doing Bhakti right from the beginning. When we are in the stage of Shraddha, a person is selfless. Are you hearing it? If we have Shuddha Bhakti Shraddha, pure, the faith for pure devotional service, even from the first day, the desire is to attain Bhakti. Even if a person is affected by lust, anger and greed, Srila Jiva Goswami explains in Bhakti Sandarbha, even if a person is affected by lust, greed and other things, it's not that he cannot surrender to Krishna. Krishna, I have been suffering from all these things, please accept me as a servant. And very full heart, the full heart he engages in bhakti. Are you able to understand? It's not that when you reach stage, bhav stage, then you, no. The sadhana bhakti means you engage your senses with the desire that I'll, in Krishna's service, with the desire that I'll attain prem bhakti. That sense has to be there. That attitude has to be there. This attitude will grow further as we advance in bhakti. But can this attitude be there right from the beginning? Yes. What is the difficulty? I'm doing this. It's very simple, is it not? You started studying for CS or whatever. So from the first day, you were thinking, I'll cross this community secretary examination. Is it not? Anywhere it's like that. When I BTech, MBA, anytime, from first day, your goal is very clear. You have not become a MTech or BTech or whatever, or PhD for that matter. But the goal is clear or not? Is it difficult to understand? Okay. Well, Dhruv Maharaj may not be the perfect example because Dhruv Maharaj did not want to become pure devotee. That's why he is not given that example. He wanted to see Vishnu for material desires. He became a pure devotee, that's a different thing. Because he did bhakti under a pure devotee, but he did not want to become a pure devotee. But he definitely did a lot of tapasya to purify himself to see Krishna. Okay, that's good you are asking these questions. At least we are hearing. Okay. So the idea is because the soul is by nature pleasure seeking, so he gets pleasure from bhakti and then he gives up this sense gratification desire. Now I'll give you a very nice example which was given by His Holiness Vrindavan Chand Maharaj, and this example was given by His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj. That you see how normally in a home, at least we can talk about Indian home, the daughter is very attached to the mother and the mother is very attached to the daughters. The daughters can nod their head. Is it like that? In the West also? Most probably. Normally it happens. They have very close relationship. They sleep together. Is it not eat together like that? Very attached. But when the daughter is married and she gets happiness and affection from the husband, then she tends to forget the love of the mother. Very beautiful example. Similarly, when the living entity who has been simply sleeping in the lap of Maya and thinking that material sense gratification is all what I know, as he becomes more and more awakened in bhakti and feels the affection of the Lord, he naturally gives his attachment to material sense gratification, to which he has been addicted since beginningless time. This is very nice example. Got it? You have to keep on saying yes. Okay. Even if the neck is paining, I'll go further only when I say neck. You say yes. Okay. This much only. You cannot speak, but you can nod. Okay. Otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. So the way it has been spoken makes matter very clear. If we don't engage in bhakti, we will engage in sense gratification. There is no option in between. There is no status quo. There is no man's land. I hope devotees understand this phrase. No man's land between Bharat and Pakistan, India and Pakistan. There is a space where there is neither India, neither Pakistan. But there is no like that in between Maya and Krishna. Either we are in Maya camp or Krishna camp. There is no in between. Okay, I will not be in any party, neither Maya, neither Krishna. It doesn't work like that. We are not independent. A very important instruction, we must actually sincerely persevere to purify our heart. Please explain why. In seeing in this context, can you explain? Yes? We have very few options here, so you have a chance. In context to what we have heard here. But a Krishna conscious person, otherwise, yes.
Because if we does not purify our heart, then we'll have inclination to go to the senses.
If we don't purify our heart, our inclination for sense gratification will haunt us. Say yes or no? Yes. So to the degree we get hearts purified faster, which happens primarily by chanting and hearing Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam, there will things which will haunt us. What about that sense gratification? Yes, not that bad. Nobody is looking. Even Krishna as Paramatma is sleeping. Do that. Watch some YouTube shorts at least for 1 minute. Shorts are only for 1 minute, is it not? I'm just joking. Everyone's sense gratification is different. One devotee was addicted to cricket. I have no cricket. Who cares? It's a stupid thing. Or I don't want to say stupid, but it's actually stupid. Somebody is throwing a ball and the whole nation is thinking we have lost. It's a stupidity. So now some devotee who's attracted to cricket and somehow their Maya brings the exact match in front and wow, let me just at least 20 minutes of human form of life, at least score to check kare. At least I should check the scores like that. So everyone's sense gratification is different. And many times you're surprised, what is in it that he's falling for this stupid things. Every sense gratification is stupid. That's why I say Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. Not even one sense, every sense gratification. Sometimes if you become disgusted, why this person has to be so much attached to post and position? What he's getting by that, Why he has to move like around like a very great man and everybody has to pay obeisances, and if he does not pay obeisances, he says, have you not taught this person properly? They are not paying obeisances. What? I mean, come on, But see, people are attached for meager things. I will put very nice statement by Sanat Kumar. The greatest obstacle in our self-realization is to consider something more important than our self-realization. So, Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi is nothing, it has nothing to do. I don't belong to this world. So I have to just keep this body or have sufficient Lakshmi to maintain my body and soul together and do bhakti. Bas. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities. Either I am satisfying my senses, or I am satisfying the senses of those whom I consider as mine. So got it? Yes. Keep on nodding your hands. That is your kartavya. That is your dharma here. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. My son, if you eat, I feel my heart is getting satisfied. That's how mothers speak, is it not? Eat one more chapati. Eat one. You look so weak, my dear son. Please eat one more chapatis. All the sons will say. In Indian homes we have seen. I have not been to West, but almost everywhere it must be like that, is it not? This is really funny. I had to come back from Indonesia. There, the devotees and the Matajis, the Matajis only cook. They are so affectionate. They said, take some prasadam. How what will you eat? It was only 24-hour journey. And they gave me 13 kgs of prasadam. Wow, it's amazing. And when I went to the airport, they said, what is this? I said, this is my food. He was looking at me. 7 kg is the limit and you have 13 kg prasadam. Anyhow. Obviously, it's not sense gratification, they wanted to serve, but I'm just saying normally people do like this. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. This is very nice. Prabhupada said we can use missiles also for propagating Krishna consciousness. What did we learn here? Highlight this. Everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. Hear it very nicely. Prabhupada says, when a living entity, regardless of one ashram, anything, when a living entity takes to bhakti, not becomes perfect, that perfection is a different thing. When a living entity even takes to bhakti, Krishna considers it his personal victory, and one of the name of Krishna is Achit, means who cannot be conquered. A person who has not lost any battle. Think about this statement. A person, Krishna, who has not lost any battle since time, beginningless time. Nobody has been able to conquer Krishna. Don't give the example of Jarasandha, that was his pastime. A person who has never lost any battle, ever. He thinks it's his personal victory when a living entity takes to Krishna consciousness. Now you understand what is the meaning of satisfaction to Krishna? I think it's very clear, as servants of Lord, we should be ready to do anything, everything, whatever, to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna has very clearly told in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who gives this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to others is most dear. Why I am saying this? I just now had a talk with Mataji, Radhika Shukla Mataji, and her brother is preparing for some IAS exam in India. You know how he studies? He wakes up at 7 o'clock something, whatever, and by 9 o'clock is free with a breakfast. From 9 he disappears. And next morning she meets him at 7 a.m. He goes up, disappears means goes up in his room and studies and studies. That's how you must be studying studies. Do we study Bhagavad Gita like this? Raise your hands. Do we give that much importance? That's why we don't get the capacity to preach. Because we are not putting that intention with that this is, I'm going to satisfy Krishna by preaching the message. Is it that difficult? I don't think it's that difficult. You don't have to mug up things here. You have to understand things here. Bhagavad Gita is not for mugging up. Are you able to understand? Chant Hare Krishna and understand the principles. Such an inspiration I got. 12, I don't know how much, 12, 15 hours, I don't know how much. One devotee from Bharatpur says, she told me she was studying 18 hours to get a 40,000 rupees job. 18 hours. See how much people are enthusiastic about material things. This is not going to satisfy Krishna. So something which will satisfy Krishna, a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. I will put like this, when you chant Hare Krishna, have that desire that may I get that empowerment to instill the faith of Harinam in others, whomsoever I meet. That will satisfy Krishna. And if you don't have still faith, you please read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anta Leela, chapter 3, discussion between Haridas Thakur and Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How much Mahaprabhu is sad seeing the bad situation of the people of Kali Yuga and is thinking how they will be delivered. Ei dukha apar, I have so much sadness. And then Haridas Thakur say, oh Mahaprabhu, you don't feel sad looking at the sansar of the people who are sinful. Simply by unknowingly chanting haram or like that, they will be delivered. I think many devotees must have read that. Please make it a goal of our life, that we have to somehow, in our capacity, whichever capacity, preach Krishna consciousness. And amazing, the point is, we as conditioned soul want to decrease our capacity in preaching. Prabhuji, my capacity is just to bus this much to one. Are we obsessed about it? Obsessed about satisfying Krishna? Before I go forward, it's the last page. I was in that meeting, not a meeting, one devotee has left his body, very senior devotee, sannyasi actually, and Bhurijan Prabhu was glorifying him, Srila Prabhupada's disciple. And that was something very amazing. And Bhurijan Prabhu quoted that sannyasi about Srila Prabhupada. He just said this much. He said, that means the sannyasi who has left his body told about Prabhupada that Prabhupada's bhajan was preaching. And then Bhurijan Prabhu was crying like a baby. Like tears were flowing from his. I'm still not able to understand why he was crying like that. But I can only understand that everybody, most of us think about our own bhajan, which is important. But she very amazingly Prabhuji told, I was directly in front, he said, in Balram Hall. He was crying, he was bitterly crying. I could only understand, my appreciation is that he understood what pains, what sacrifices Prabhupada made to give this message to others. He could appreciate, what an Indian has to do with an American, is it not? And my Guru Maharaj was mentioned that Prabhupada was giving his life for those people who actually reject him. Who, if he tells about dharma, who will listen? Is it not? Who will feed to the hippies? Who will clean their plates? Who will clean? How many devotees' plates you have cleaned? Devotees' plate, what talk of hippies? And for 1 year. I am not saying that you are not doing and I am doing. I am also not at that level. I am just appreciating Prabhupada's extreme endeavor, extreme zeal to satisfy Krishna. Who will stay in a Bauri? I mean, I can only speak theory. I have never stayed in a Bauri actually. We have to obviously act at the level of a realization, but this is how we can be detached from sense gratificated desires. Each one, think we are much more power and potency than what we think. We are not tapping it. If you just extend your affection to people whom you know and explain to them about Krishna consciousness, they will accept bhakti. It's not that they will not. I'm seeing that it happens. You can pray for them, you can explain to them, you can invite them, all those things can be there. If we really care to satisfy Krishna, that is my point. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. Did you get this point? So a person will try to do yam, niyam, all this ashtanga yogas, but it's basically mechanical thing. It has really nothing to do much with the soul properly in that sense. Soul's natural function and desire is to serve Krishna. And if that desire is to serve Krishna, to satisfy Krishna, if that is increased, naturally all sarv sankalpa sannyas, automatically all other desires subside. We'll stop here. I'll just see if there are some questions or comments. On which step in yoga ladder can we put Dhruv Maharaj's endeavor? NKY or Ashtanga Yoga? Nishkaram Karma Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga? No, he was Bhakti Yoga. Right from the beginning he was doing Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of what is that? Narad Muni. So he was practicing pure devotional service. He was practicing devotional service, but he had a material desires. Brahma Jyoti is a temporary no man's land. Okay. Yes, a good interesting point. Brahma Jyoti is a temporary no man's land. Acha, Brahma Jyoti is your effulgence? Is Krishna shine, my dear devotee? Is Krishna shine? So it is only there is one man, and that man is Krishna, and that is also man's land, is it not? I give a simple example that like any land, a person may be one person, localized in one place, but his influence is everywhere. So you cannot say it's no man's land. So Brahma Jyoti is Krishna's land. Although there is no land, but that space is belonging to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I don't think any questions are there. In proportion to get bliss in bhakti, in that proportion he gets detached from sense gratification? Yes. As our happiness, our experience of happiness in bhakti increases, naturally our desire for sense gratification gives up. Do you feel the devotees here, do you feel a difficulty in giving up tea? So now you got it? याद आए वो दिन? Do you become nostalgic? Those days, we used to had some fun we had bread and tea and dip the bread in the tea and wow, what did I get in this Krishna consciousness? Only austerity. So you see, you just naturally give up this desires like other things. I think you're also not missing the movies also and all those things. All things go up. So right now you are giving up so many desires by the process of bhakti. Okay, my question is above. Where is your question? I cannot see you. And see the question. Okay, so we'll stop here. You send the question to me by telegram. Thank you all. So we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.